What is your view on Islam?
As someone who grew up in a Muslim family, I was conditioned to be a Muslim. Later on, I went to a Sharia school. I studied Islam. I memorized huge portions of the Quran. I read the Quran on a regular basis. I studied classic Arabic to understand the language of the Quran. I spent most of my childhood and up to my mid-20s in that environment. Islam is not a religion of peace. Bottom line.
So
and this is not according to one sect. This is according to the Quran itself. And all the Islamic sects, denominations, follow a major book, and that's Quran. And Quran in itself is not peaceful. The God of the Quran, Allah, is not peaceful. He's a very violent God. He's not tolerant. He hates the Jewish people. He hates the non-Muslims. And he gives the authority to the Muslims to punish the non-Muslims if they don't obey Allah, to function as the sword of Allah on earth. And this by itself is blasphemic, is wrong, is against the way of life, is against the way of evolution, it's against religion, it's against morality, it's against diversity. And those who claim that Islam is a religion of peace, they are liars. They are all paid actors. They are all compromised by the sheikh oil money. And they don't want to piss off Islamic political regimes and Islamic money and Muslim investors. And most importantly, they want to avoid the Muslim rage. So they just keep dragging humanity into the trap that Islam is a religion of peace, while it's not. So as someone who know the Quran very well, so the people cannot be mistaken, say, okay, this is your Islam, or this is your sect, or this is your denomination. I tell them, rest, take a seat, and listen. The Quran itself has a problem. Allah himself has a problem. And if we want to deal with Islamic violence, then we need to deal with the root cause of this problem, and it resides in the Quran itself.
What about the millions of Muslims across the world who do not engage in jihad and who are peaceful?
Then they are not Muslims. Then they're just nominal Muslims. They have been given the identity of a Muslim because they were born in that environment, and they don't have any other identity. They are just weak individuals, and they don't practice Islam. According to Allah, they are going to hell. But for some reason, they just keep clinging and hanging on this identity. Muslims. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And they don't earn my respect to identify with something they don't understand, or to identify with a Nazi ideology and pretend to be peaceful. So Islam is not ethnicity. It's not even a religion. It's a totalitarian system. And this system does not see anyone outside of it, does not recognize anyone out of it. It's a mental illness, in other words. And the Muslims, whether they know what Islam is or they don't know what Islam is, as long as they identify with this sick ideology, I consider them psychopaths. I consider them sick people, and they must seek help.
Yeah, there are you I think you called them nominal Muslims. I mean, you made a term for the millions of Muslims who are peaceful, and I just want to point out, they're not actors, right? Like there are millions of Muslims in this world who are peaceful. You can call them nominal if you want, but I just think it's worth noting, right? Isn't that an important fact? I think. Do you agree?
No, I disagree.
Oh,
I disagree because in Islam, and you know that I rejected Islam totally many years ago. The Islamic law, okay, the Islamic law says, and this is according to Muhammad in a Sahih Hadith, if someone changes his religion, Islam in this case, give him 3 days. If he does not return to Islam, kill him. So this is according to Muhammad now, the founder of Islam, and according to the most trusted Islamic sources. So now there is a death sentence to me against me by this totalitarian system. Now, when someone identify with Islam and come and say I'm a Muslim, now how am I to actually feel about him? If there is a death sentence against me and against, by the way, many ex-Muslims, that we are supposed to be beheaded for just rejecting our belief system and its delusion.
Right.
So now for you, you can sit, you and the rest of the world, you can sit and reject my concern because you are not in the fire. There is no death penalty hanging over your head. There is no price over your head. You are sitting in comfort. We are fighting for our lives. Me and thousands of those who rejected the Islamic ideology. And there are perpetrators out there who want us dead. Now, when some Mustafa, because he was born that way, come and create a false sense that Islam is a religion of peace, they are already complicit in this crime. They are already taking the side of the enemy. They are already giving cover to those who want to harm me and harm the rest of civilians and the rest of non-Muslims across the world. This is why I stand firmly and say, what makes you a Muslim? Are you a practicing Muslim? Then you are a jihadist. Or at least you justify the jihad. If this is what you do, this means that you are my enemy. It's as simple as that. Now you tell me they are peaceful, not peaceful. How do I know?
Look, I know these issues are contentious, and I really hope that none of my questions are coming off silly. You know, when I say, oh, I'm curious, and you're thinking, Jake, like, you're curious. I feel like I don't want my curiosity to come off as childish. I mean, these are serious issues we're talking about. So, so here's my thought. I want to hear what you think about this. So you're talking about Islam, and you know the Quran very well, so I'm not going to dispute that. So I'm Jewish, right? I'm culturally Jewish. I'm not religious, but I consider aspects of my culture. There are elements of Judaism that I appreciate, and culturally, I consider myself Jewish, right? And a quick question for you: like, would you agree that Judaism is not a religion of violence? Like, you would say Judaism is a kind religion overall. Would you agree?
Look, first of all, I'm not expert on Judaism,
but
that's number one.
Yeah, because here's what I want to say. Just my one thing. So in the Torah, there are certain in the Jewish Bible, there are certain laws that are they're obsolete, they're considered cruel, and they're no longer in practice. Okay, so one such law is stoning for adultery. It's in the Torah that adultery can be punishable by death. It's in the Torah that you can have the death penalty for a blasphemy. And so as a Jew, I stand against all of those things. And the reason I can be Jewish and be against certain rules in the Torah is because I don't consider Judaism to be a literal, like I don't take the Bible literally. I don't take it literally. And so I discard the elements that I think are unethical. And so I don't mean to anger you, but I think my final question on Islam is that, don't you think that in the same way that I can be Jewish and discard the immoral aspects of the Torah, you can be Islam, or you can be Muslim rather, a moderate, or as you say, nominal Muslim, and discard the elements of the Quran which you feel are unethical? Is that a possibility?
Okay. Let me ask you this. So you say that it's violent because it's stoning adulterers or those who commit adultery. Does it specify that they are to stone the non-Jewish?
I don't know.
Also?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Is it specific that it stones the Muslims? Does it mention the Muslims by name in the Torah?
I don't know.
Or the Christians?
I don't know. I could look it up.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And that's the difference in Islam. Islam points out a Jewish and a Christian population. The Christians and the Jews are mentioned by name in the Quran. And the Muslims are given the authority to function as the sword of Allah. So the violent verses that you say, they're coming from the Stone Age, and Judaism has reformed thousands of years ago. And look at Israel today. It's a secular society, even though there are people who believe in the Stone Age ideologies. The majority of the Jewish people disagree with barbarism and savagery. Now, the Holy Scripture, the Bible, is not the highest authority of the state of Israel or of the Jewish people. It's the Jewish intelligence that understand the essence and understand the distance, the space and time. And it's proving that the Jewish people don't practice savagery. Like, bring me one evidence that a Jewish crowd or mob that stoned a woman for committing adultery in public, and that was praised by the Jewish people. It's impossible. You cannot find any evidence of that. But you will find it in Pakistan, you will find it in Saudi Arabia, you will find it in many other Islamic societies. Then the Muslims, when you talk about adultery, this is a punishment system that is targeting one society. It's written for the Jewish people. If a Jewish person, let's say, sin in a certain way, there is a punishment. It's for the community, the Jewish community. It's not a law that applies for the non-Jews. So the Muslims think that they have the right to punish the non-Muslims, to go invade and force people to worship Allah. And if they disobey, they have the right to kill them. This is what they did for 1400 years already. And they are demonstrating that through jihad, which is a unique concept only to Islam. You know, there is no such thing as jihad in Judaism. There is self-defense. This is understandable. The use of force is understandable. But to go and try to conquer the globe and create a global Jewish state, this does not exist in Judaism. So I am not concerned of scripture that was written from the beginning of time. I am concerned of a scripture that is still active and people act on it by killing and kidnapping and justifying all type of barbarism. And that's only existing in Islam. And this is why we have in all this Islamic global chaos. So both cannot be compared.